on St. Kitts and Nevis.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this week's edition of On the Mark. Straight talk across the Narrows. 2 hours of uninterrupted talk radio. And On the Mark, it's an opportunity for you, the members of the general public, to come on here, give your views, call in, give your questions on whatever it is that you believe is of importance, whatever you think is of substance, things that you think are current and happening in the Federation. Call in, send your views and let us have a discussion on them. I am Troy Liebert. I am going to be your host for this evening. I think we're going to have a wonderful time. I'm back, and I'm back with guests again because, we've been getting a lot of questions. We have a lot happening. These are very, very strange times. We're in some unprecedented times. I know that the school year for 2020-2021 is about to begin, and I've been fielding a lot of questions on the phone. People have been meeting me on the streets, asking me a lot of questions. So, we thought that it would be important to come back on the Mark again. I have guests with me again, as I said, and my guests were here a few weeks ago, and I think they did a wonderful job in, explaining what's going to be happening come the new school year. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to give some further updates when the time is right. Of course, there's been a lot happening in the community. We've had some birthday shout outs, and I want to say happy birthday to all those persons who've been celebrating over the past few weeks. You know what? In Nevis, times are changing. In the past, you wouldn't hear so much about birthdays, but every day now you go on Facebook and somebody is celebrating, and somebody has done a photo shoot, and everybody's congratulating and saying happy birthday and so on. I think things like that only help us to come together more as a community. So I want to continue to encourage us to have that camaraderie. We see folks having their birthday, and we go and we wish them happy birthday. We see folks celebrating anniversaries, the birth of a child, whatever they celebrate, that we join with them, because we are one federation, we are one people, and we are nothing without each other. We all need each other to build us up, and when we are down, we need each other to kind of bring us up. And coming off of birthdays, once they're highs, they're going to be lows, and so something really tragic happened earlier this week. We lost the life of a young man, 17, almost going to be 18, and that was a real tragic incident. My sympathy certainly goes out to the entire family. It's a family that I know very, very well. I know his mother, Christelle Hobson, very, very, very well. I know the entire family, all of his uncles, his aunts, his grandmother. I know his dad, everybody on his dad's side. Raul, I know his stepfather, Bojo, and the entire family. And when things like these happen, there are really no words that you can really say that would encompass the type of grief that the family must be feeling. But God is in the midst, and God knows best. So I want to send out our sympathy to the entire family and all of his friends and all those who are suffering. Certainly, if there are others who would have suffered loss that I don't have the information on yet, I also want to send out condolences to all of you who are suffering. Certainly, we have to be our brother's keeper, and when we see our brother or our sister in a bad position, then we should do what we can to see how we can lend them a helping hand. On my way here to the studio, I kept looking over into the Long Point area, because I noticed that there was a sort of orange going up into the sky. And when I got here outside of the studio, I could see pretty clearly from here that there is a fire in the vicinity of the landfill area. And so I want to hope and pray that we don't have anything happening that's too bad, and that our fire services are able to get it under control as soon as possible. So quite a bit happening here on Nevis, quite a bit happening in the Federation. Of course, we know this is a call-in show, so when the time comes to call in, the numbers to call will be 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. I want to welcome in all of our listeners. Of course, it's Wednesday night, so once you're tuned into the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, then you're listening to On the Mark. And On the Mark is one of those shows that we've been going for quite a while, and we have persons who are very loyal to the show, and we of course are very loyal to our listeners. We've now added viewers. We are going live on Facebook. You can go to Facebook, Von Radio. You type in Von Radio on Facebook, like the page, and then you can watch us live. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to the YouTube site and typing in Von Radio. Of course, like the Von Radio YouTube page and watch us live on YouTube. Then you can not only listen, but you can watch us and you can see. It's one thing to listen, and it's another thing to watch people's body language and all of those type of things. So certainly adding YouTube and Facebook adds another element. Of course, I think we're also streaming live on www.vonradio.com, so you can listen us via that medium also. So there are many different ways that you can watch or listen or stream or whatever the case is, but come in and be a part of the show. And certainly if you have questions, you can ask. If you know anybody who has children of school age and they have some interest in what's going to happen come next week in terms of school reopening, then you can certainly ring them up and tell them, look, Troy Libert is on the mark. He has guests. Let me introduce my guests up front. I have with me the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mr. Kevin Barrett, and also the principal education officer. That's the person who's out there doing all of the work in running the Department of Education, Miss Zanella Claxton, and they're definitely going to be here to answer your questions. Not just to answer your questions, they're going to be bringing you the information as to what our plan is in terms of the reopening of schools. I'll start with you, Mr. Pierce. Good night.
Good night, good night, good night. It's wonderful to be back in the studios of One Radio and with my partner, I would say, in terms of work, Miss Zanella Claxton, my PEO. I usually introduce her as my right hand, my right foot, left hand. She's just such a wonderful individual to have on the team at Education. And yes, we are here tonight to bring you some updates from whence we were here last time. We would have given you some ideas as to what we were putting in place for our back to school, our new school year coming up, beginning on September 7th. So I am really glad to be back, and I believe what I have to share tonight would have or would help to put a lot of the questions that some persons have been asking of me and asking of people at the personnel that we have at the Education Department and the Ministry of Education. And so I am hoping that at the end of the night too that our parents especially would feel very comfortable in once again allowing their children to be out of their care in the house and back in school. And so at the end, as I said, this should be something that help our parents and all who are concerned with the reopening of school to have some of their fears, and I put it like that, lessened, and we face the new school year with confidence that the proper things and protocols and all of the safety and health measures that we have in place would indeed keep our staff and students safe. And I would leave it there for now. I'll allow Principal Education Officer Ms. Claxton to bring her opening remarks as well, and then Mr. Minister, we'll get into more details in terms of what we have to put to the public tonight.
All right, thank you so much, P.S. Good evening to everyone in the listening world, the Facebook world, the YouTube world, and it is indeed a pleasure to be back here tonight. I know that as the days get closer, you know, the anxiety and the anticipation goes up, and so it is a pleasure for us to bring you this update this evening. I want to, at the beginning of the show, remind and state that, you know, we are putting many protocols in place. We're working with as many of our stakeholders as possible, our principals, our teachers, our parents, bus drivers, custodial staff, security officers, crossing guards. We're trying to work with everyone to get to a point of readiness, and we're asking our parents to and the general community to continue to support us and to exercise patience. I know that even as we share these protocols, you will have questions which we will try our best to answer, and in the event that we don't have an exact answer, it will give us food for thought to go back to make sure that we address those concerns prior to the reopening of schools. As I reflected on what we have to do going forward, I thought about the fact that every 2 to 3 weeks we get new statutory rules and orders, and they have to be adjusted because there are changes within the dynamics, changes within the community, and we are now free to do more and open up. And so the same will obtain for us in education. We have brought forward the first protocols for reopening, but we also know that once we've opened, we may have to make some adjustments as well. And so we ask parents to, as I said, to be patient with us and the community, and to support us and help us in identifying areas where there are potential weaknesses, and with all of us working together, we should be able to do well and continue to protect our students, and of course give them the interaction and the contact time that they have missed and longing for during this 2020-2021 academic year in an unprecedented way.
Thank you both. And ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, we today is Wednesday. Wednesday is normally our cabinet day, and so the cabinet had invited the presence of the permanent secretary and the PEO today, and I think the premier had every intention to be here on the show tonight, because I know he has some pressing things that he wanted to deal with. But based on the presentation that was done for the cabinet today, because the cabinet, themselves wanted to know what the position was in terms of education, what the position was in terms of what is to be done for the opening of schools, what all the recommendations were, and based on the presentation that was done, I think everybody was thoroughly impressed. So, it was natural that the information, or some of the information that was shared then, at least what could be shared, that we should share it with the public. So that's the reason why we are here tonight, of course, to ensure that the public is informed. And basically what we're going to do is, I'm going to let the PS start off, basically giving us an indication of some of the things that we are going to do going back to school. But I'm going to open the lines in the meantime, so that if callers have any questions, while we're going along, that you can certainly call in, and we would be happy to pause for the moment and to take those questions. Okay? If there are too many calls coming in, then I'll probably take a pause on some of the calls and allow both of you to share that information. So we'll sort of play it by ear. So Pierce, I'll let you start.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. And one of the things that the Ministry and Department of Education we are focusing on in going forward in the new school year is health and the safety of our children and staff at our schools. We have put that at the top of our list. And so all that we are doing, we think of those two things, the health and safety of all who are involved in our schools, and we want to just set the atmosphere and the tone for the new school year, that those two things are key for us. And why are they so important? Well, everyone knows that we are living in what we call the new normal, and COVID-19 has put us in a place where we have to be very mindful of what is happening around us, what we do, the health practices that we have, the safety measures that we have put in place, and we are very mindful that if we ignore these things, how devastating it could be to an individual, how devastating it could be for a school, a community, an entire island, an entire nation. So we are putting at the top of our list the health and safety of all who are involved in school. So what have we done in that light? One of the things that we have done is to have all of the schools cleaned and sanitized, and that is something that we want to spend a little bit of time talking about. The schools had been unoccupied for quite a while, since March, and the science says that how clean your environment is, and the way in which you operate and you keep that environment could help in staving off the COVID-19. So what did the Ministry and Department of Education, what did we do? We went and we had some conversations with companies, professional companies on the island, that are known for their expertise in cleaning. And we had a good conversation with all those who we would have spoken to. And we told them what our aim is in terms of getting the schools ready, in terms of cleaning and deep cleaning and ensuring that the area is properly sanitized before we allow our staff and students to come back to the facility. And they assured us that yes, that indeed that they could do the job, and we went ahead, and I am satisfied and I am pleased to tell you that all the schools have had their cleaning done. All the government operated schools have had their classrooms deep clean and sanitized, the offices, the bathrooms, and I'm very, very happy and I'm very thankful for all those who would have been on board in getting us to this point where we could have that confidence that the schools are properly cleaned and sanitized. So I would like to outline some of the things that were done. And this is not, the cleaning that was done is not just going and wiping the surfaces and things like that. These operators or cleaning agents or agencies, companies, they were using steam. They were using some equipment where they actually polish the floors and remove the stains and debris and all these type of things from the bathrooms and all of that. And they had the proper equipment and the right equipment, and this was done. I saw some before and after shots of some of the areas, and they did a tremendous job, and so we are happy that all of that was done. And I know that there are some principals, if not all, they have called into the Department of Education, they have called the ministry, and they have expressed how delighted they are with the work that was done. And I am truly encouraged that yes, our students and teachers will be going back into spaces that are clean and safe and healthy for them to occupy and operate. And I would like to say a big shout out to the companies that we would have enlisted. We had Smitten's Revolutionary Cleaning. That's a new company. That's a new company that is located in Gingerland. We had Unique Cleaning Services. I think that's a well-known company, Calvin Smitten. He runs that company. We had Esbert Myers and his crew. I think Esbert too is well known. And we had Mr. Brendan Bello, who has the Rhino Services. And we have another company, another small company out of Banscott, True Service. And he specializes in mostly deep clean of kitchens. And how we went about doing this, we went about doing this in a way in which we were looking at the time frame in which we wanted the job done. So we looked at the areas, and we looked at the size of the schools and things like that. And I could tell you that all of these individuals, they did a fantastic job. The companies did a fantastic job. As I said, as long as the principals were pleased, then I am pleased, because they are the ones who would have to actually work in this space. And as I said, the information that came back to us tells me that we are on the right track. And I want the parents to understand that we want our children to be healthy. We want our children to be safe. We want our teachers to be healthy. We want our teachers to be safe. And that is why we have invested in this operation. And this is something that we are not going to do on a one-off basis. But we are going to be mindful that from time to time something like this has to be done. We are going to have our regular cleaning. Yes, our cleaners will be at the schools, but this deep cleaning that we, and sanitization that we embarked on before the reopening of school was something that we thought was very, very important. And so we thought that this had to be done at this time, and the parents and the teachers and the students and all those who were a little bit, let's say, a little bit fearful or concerned about the children going back into the spaces that were not occupied for some time, that this would give them a bit of confidence, or a lot of confidence, that indeed that some effort was made to ensure that the spaces are healthy and clean and safe for reoccupation, if you want to put it like that. One of the other things that we would have also embarked on, and again, health and safety, top priority for us, is the hand washing stations. All of the schools are going to be outfitted with hand washing stations, and strategically placed. We have a lot of them being placed right at the entry gate, right at the main gate that that will be used by the schools. And that is because we want to make sure that when anyone comes to the school, whether it's a teacher or a student or a visitor, that there is something available, that the hands are being sanitized and cleaned. And so we thought too that would have been a great addition to our response to the COVID-19. And so we have some of the schools which would have had a station or two already, and some will be getting more. And I must thank at this time the maintenance team. Those are the ones who were charged in getting these hand washing stations built at all of the government operated schools, and they have done a fantastic job in doing that as well. And all of this, as I said, is in response to the COVID-19, but we also wanted the general public, the teachers, the students, the parents to recognize that there is some effort that is being made from the Department of Education and Ministry of Education to, again, as I said, ensure that the space and the schools are ready to receive the students, and that they are healthy and they are safe environment for the students to come back. I think I'll pause there for a little bit.
Okay, certainly. P.S., I want to thank you very much for that, and I think that gives the public a good indication of what we're doing in terms of cleanliness. I want the public to understand that we are taking the health and safety of our students and teachers, the entire staff, that health and safety is going to be paramount. So that takes care of the cleaning. And while we're on cleanliness, I think this is something that the public would want to know. What are we putting in place in terms of dealing with the lunches and so on that the students would have? We know we have school meals programs and so on. So what's in place to deal with that? Because I know it's not going to be done in the normal way as it was done before.
So in relation to the school meals program, we are not going to have the students congregated in the cafeteria, if they have a cafeteria, as we would normally do at those schools, but all students will have their lunches in their classrooms. The younger students will be assisted. Of course, the kindergartners, we don't want them to be navigating with their juice and their food, so they will be served and be assisted at least until they get their hand-eye coordination a little better down pat. And then the students will not have lunch at the same time. Once again, we're trying to minimize crowds, we're trying to minimize congregating, and so there will be a staggered lunch for the various grades. We'll also have the staggered recess as well, but the staggered lunch, because we're speaking specifically about lunch, the staggered lunch would allow for smaller groups of students to go to the cafeteria to retrieve their lunches and to get back to their classrooms. We will also have each classroom having a classroom set of utensils, and they will be properly sanitized following the lunch period. And in terms of their juices, they'll also have those in cups, individual cups. We'll put cling wraps on them so that nothing can fly in or contaminate the juices on the way back to the classroom. So both their food and their juices will be covered, and then all of the dirty dishes will be returned will be placed in bins, and the cafeteria staff will collect those. So the students wouldn't have to go back and forth with them either. In relation to persons who generally bring their lunches to school, we are encouraging parents to try their very best to either provide them with a food flask to keep their food warm, or some alternative measure, a nice sandwich packed with vegetables and everything. That we're encouraging healthy eating habits, but we are not going to be able to accommodate 20, 30 children going back and forth to the microwave this time around. Usually a teacher would stand there and assist with warm up, but handling all of those different utensils puts the teacher and other students at risk as well. So until we get a hang of the protocols, until we get a hang of everything that needs to be done, we have to ensure that we're protecting both the students and the teachers, and so we have to ask that parents do not encourage that. We are not encouraging that at this time. I think that covers what lunch should look like, and as I said, the staggered approach helps because we don't have all the children out at the same time.
Okay, I think I'm wondering if I jumped the gun on that. But since we were talking about cleanliness, then I felt that that was a good question to ask at that time. By the way, the lines are open. Numbers to call: 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. And this evening we are talking about education, about the restart of public schools, schools in general, here on the island of Nevis. Certainly, it's the same thing that's going to be happening over on St. Kitts, and I know that the approach is being taken on both islands very similar. We've been in close contact, the Ministry of Education as well as the Ministry here on Nevis as well as over on the island of St. Kitts has been in constant communication. So it's pretty much the same thing. There might be a few subtle differences, but pretty much the same. So tell us a bit about what's in place for the opening of schools, because there have been persons calling me. They want to know, is school opening on the 7th, is school opening on the 9th, is school opening on this day, on that day. I know that the particular schools, all of them are not doing the exact same thing, and I know that they have been having meetings, some virtually, some meetings in person, to explain to parents exactly what is going to be happening in terms of their child, their specific child. Their child would be in a particular grade, in a particular class, and the meetings have been happening to explain. But perhaps a bit of that can be brought to the broader public who has been asking for information and who does not have that information.
All right, so probably before I answer the question, a good place to start might be to announce the dates for the remainder of the meetings. Most of the meetings actually are finished, but we have a few more happening tomorrow, Thursday, 3rd September. So we have the CBIS, Cicely Brown Integrated School, PTA, at the school's cafeteria at 4:30 p.m. CSS had a series of meetings. They had one almost every day this week because of the school's role. They had to break the meetings up into forms. And so CSS has the Form 4 and 5 meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m. via Zoom. Charlestown Preschool has 2 meetings tomorrow. Group 1, 3 p.m. at NEPAC, and Group 2, 5 p.m. at NEPAC. And both parents would have received a call, so they would know which group they're in for the purposes of this meeting. VOJN will have their second meeting tomorrow. They had the first meeting today. Tomorrow is an in-person meeting. Parents of students who are in kindergarten through grade 2, so that's kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2, at 4:30 p.m. at the school's courtyard. And Montessori preschool, they'll have their PT at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and then they continue with the Montessori Academy proper, and they're going to go staggering 1 hour apart until 2 p.m. By grades. And Little Stars Nursery will bring in up the rear with their meeting at 4:30 p.m. So, as I said, most of the meetings already took place this week, and so most parents should be up to speed, but those are the remainder of the meetings for the rest of this week. We initially thought about opening schools at the same time for all students to return, and as we consulted with the various stakeholders, we thought that it would be best for the students, for our staff members, for all stakeholders to do a phased approach to the reopening of schools. And so, as I said, parents would have attended the meetings and they got particulars from the school, but just to give the community a general picture, the early childhood centers will open to 4-year-olds on this is public early childhood centers will open to 4-year-olds on Monday, 7th September. So on Monday, 4-year-olds will return to school. The following Monday, the 3-year-olds will return to school, and the 4-year-olds will still be there. So all students will be in place by the 14th of September. Why are we doing this? Our early childhood, our young children, they're very tactile. They want to touch. They have different emotions, attachments, and so you get the first group into a routine, and then the second group can emulate them. CBRS, Cicely Brown Integrated School, they will start proper on Monday, 7th September 2020, and parents will get the start times for the first classes down to the end time during their meeting tomorrow. And then each school, as I said, so JLPS, kindergarten to grade 2, Monday and Tuesday next week. Wednesday, grades 3 and 4 would come in. Thursday, grades 5 and 6 will come in. Ivor Walters, Monday, kindergarten, grade 3, grade 6. And Tuesday, we have grade 1 and grade 4. And Wednesday, grades 2 and 5. And they're actually rolling out their grades just how they will have their recess and lunchtime. So this will kind of give you an idea. The students will know every day together we all break, and we kind of figure out how to control the numbers there. It will allow the staff members to get a chance to also, as I said, practice, ensure that they're following the protocols, the students are following the protocols, and not overwhelm the school or the system. And then we go into St. James Primary, Mondays.
One minute, Pio. We have a call on there. Oh, we've lost that call. Okay, we have another call. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
I would like to direct this question to Ms. Claxton. Considering the numbers for, I'm thinking secondary school now, the numbers that are usually in Form 1 and Form 2, with our limited spaces, and we have already conducted 15 persons per classroom, and most of the first form classes will be more than that. So you're actually having to double in terms of spaces, in terms of teachers, in terms of scheduling in the first place. So I don't know if the department itself has looked at that by itself. Just for those two forms, I'm not going to go any further because it becomes a little more complicated.
Thank you so much for the question, caller. And yes, we've worked with the secondary principals. We've actually, they worked throughout the summer trying to make sure that we have the numbers for each form. For example, just one form at one of the Form 1s at CSS has over 47 students, and so we had to make sure that we're breaking up the forms into smaller groups. We have a shift system. I didn't get to the secondary schools yet in announcing, but we have a shift system, and we've ensured that each class is remaining at the size it's supposed to be, that we're breaking them up as they should. And then from the ministry level, provisions were made for additional teachers where necessary. At the school level, the timetables were done in such a way where the teachers can serve the students, and we have hopefully the proper staff allocations. We put all of that in place and we've thought through that. So the students should have coverage, they will have coverage, and the timetables should reflect such that the students can get the subjects that they're supposed to have during their regular, especially as you said, first and second form, and as it gets up throughout up to sixth form, those have already been pretty much worked out. And I want to say thank you to the timetabling committees at both secondary schools. They worked late down into the night. They've been doing that for a long time to ensure that we have coverage for our students. So thank you so much for that question, and we have taken it into consideration.
We have another caller. Let's go back to the line. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Hello.
Yes, good night. You're on the mark.
Hi, good night, Minister Lyward.
Good night.
How are you?
Good night, sir. How are you?
I'm well. I just wanted to call and thank you and the team, P.S. Barrett and P.O. Claxton, for the really excellent work that you have been doing. I recognize that this is a difficult period for the island. It's a difficult period for all of us. But certainly education is critical to the island and to our young people, and it's critical to our developmental needs. And I have been very impressed with the level of work, the level of preparation that has been undertaken. I am also impressed that at each stage, based on the reports that you and the team have brought to the cabinet, that you have consulted. You've consulted with principals, you've consulted where necessary with teachers, you've consulted with parents. And I'm delighted that we're having these series of PTA meetings where everybody's being sensitized. So tonight I think the show is a critically important show. I was very impressed with the presentation today to the Cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration. And I too would join with your team in asking the public to be patient with us. COVID is a very fluid situation, as we all know. We recognize that even after we open, we might have to make adjustments as we go along. And I'm really appealing to our parents and our public to be patient with us, because our objective is to ensure that our children are safe, our teachers are safe, and our auxiliary staff at our schools are safe. But I think it's important to publicly recognize excellent work when we see it, and I really wanted to congratulate you and the entire team. I'm not even there tonight because I didn't want to be any fly in the good ointments of education. You know, I just wanted you guys to be there and to have the opportunity to really share with the public what's happening. I was very impressed, for example, to know that all of our schools have already been sanitized and cleaned. And I would want to commend all those firms that stepped forward and who were able to assist us in that regard. So I think all in all, gentlemen and lady, I'm very impressed with you, and while the three of you are there and you're getting the accolades, I know you have an entire team behind you working with you, the EOs, the education officers, and the entire team at the ministry and department. And I really feel proud today to be Nivision. And I believe that the public should know that the government has been working really hard to put us in a position where our youth, our teachers, our staff, that everybody will be safe. There are lots of initiatives that we're rolling out to try and make it better for our students, and we will continue to do so. I too, following on that call, I would be interested in hearing a bit about the shift system. I think persons should get a sense of what is anticipated and how that will work, so that people understand that these are new times for us, and this is what everybody's referring to as a new normal, and we will just have to adjust accordingly. So again, thank you. I do not know if you gave an update yet about the preschool and the effort that you're making to provide other avenues for preschool training, but I think that if you can as well elaborate on that, if you have not yet done so, that would be useful. But thank you. That's the object of my call, is to simply to say publicly, thank you, thanks to the team, excellent work, and I'm hoping that the public will give you that support in terms of understanding that it's a very difficult process, that COVID is a fluid concept that we must continue to grapple with, but that we are working hard every day to deliver for the people of Nevis. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those kind words. And you just listened to none other than the Honorable Mark Brantley. And of course, this is On the Mark. It's his show. So he's a caller tonight. So, PE, you were giving us some good information, but we've had two callers now who have asked in particular about the high school. And I know you haven't gotten to the high school yet, but what I'm going to ask is, since it's the now thing, let's deal with the high school and the shift system, because I think that's probably the most, I think the rest of them kind of straightforward. So.
All right, so thank you so much, and I want to also join in thanking the Nevis Island administration, the entire cabinet, for their support before I go into the shift system. I know that for all of us it's difficult economically, and we have really gotten the support at education, and we really can say that education is valued, and students and parents and everyone listening, there is no doubt in my mind that we are supported, and that the full support of everyone is behind the reopening of schools. So in relation to the shift system, the hot topic and the new, very, very new thing for all of us. So, in light of the numbers, as our previous caller would have stated, it was impossible to bring all of the secondary school students out full-time for the duration of the day. And so what we have done, and we had to do it differently at both schools just a little bit because of their context and the enrollment, but at both schools we'll have a morning shift that runs from 8 to 11:45. We'll have an hour break, and that is to allow us to sanitize and prepare for the next group of students. And the next group of students come in at 12:45 and go down to between 4 and 4:30, depending on the form. Sixth form would go up to about 4:30. So in the morning, 8 to 11:45, for example, at Gingerland Secondary, we'll see forms 1, 2, learning support, and form 5. And then in the afternoon, so those students will leave at lunch, but they will not leave to go home to relax, or they won't have things to do. They will have a remote learning experience, and that experience can be either virtual, being online, or if they have a project or activity to work on to return for the next session. So if you have high schoolers at home and they come home and they're not doing anything at all, then something is amiss, because they should be either signed in, the timetables will tell them what to do, and their teachers will give them instructions daily as to what is expected, and they are expected to deliver their work. They're expected to have, we're expected to see positive results coming out of it. And then at Charlestown Secondary, we will see in the morning shift, forms 1 to 3 and learning support, and we felt that it was important to bring our learning support students in for the entire day, because we wanted to make sure that we have that contact time with them, and that we really invest in building those literacy and numeracy skills. And then in the afternoon we would see from 12:45 to 4, forms 4, 5, and as I said, learning support will continue. And that is what the shift system will look like, listeners and viewers. It will be a case of students going for either a full morning or full afternoon. They will not get a break time, because we want to ensure that we have that contact time. So they will go from 8 to 11:45 without a break time, going out and eating snacks and recess and that kind of thing. They will be allowed to go to the restroom, but not in groups. They'll be allowed phased if they need to use the restroom. So if the parents have questions about that, they will leave. The morning shift students will leave before lunch, and they should be able to eat lunch at home. And the afternoon shift students should eat their lunch prior to coming to school, because by the time they get there, it will be time to get to class and get to work. So that's what the shift system would look like.
Excellent. Anything you want to add, Pierce?
Well, I would allow PU to continue. I think we stopped at St. James Primary.
Okay, let's continue.
Yes, and so after that, then I would add something else.
So St. James Primary, the kindergarten to grade 3 students go out on Monday and Tuesday next week, and then the other students come in on Wednesday. And I wanted to note across the grades that our grades 4 and 6 teachers have been in training since they start commencing the 24th, and they've been in training all day online, and so they haven't gotten the opportunity to do some of the things that they needed to do, and so they will also be working on that behind the scenes in the interim as well, while we phase in and supporting the process and going through the protocols while we phase in their grades. The VOJN primary school students will come, the kindergartners come in on Monday, 7th September, and then Tuesday we'll see grades 1 to 3 joining them, and then Wednesday we'll have grades 4 and 6 joining the infant blocks, and so we'll be able to have all students at school. Charlestown Primary, kindergarten to grade 2, will come in on Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday they'll be joined by grades 3 and 5, and Friday, that's Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday they will be joined by grades 4 and 6. And so by the end of the week, all students will be there. They will have learned the protocols and be able to support each other. St. Thomas's Primary, Monday we will see kindergarten to grade 2, Tuesday grades 3 and 5, Wednesday grades 4 and 6, and so all students will be able to proceed for the remainder of the week. Elizabeth Pemberton Primary, Monday and Tuesday we'll have kindergarten to grade 2, and Wednesday we will have grades 3 to 6 joining, and all students will be in school by that day. The Gingerland Secondary School, Form 1, will come in on Monday morning, and they will have the orientation period, and then Wednesday we will start the shift system that I mentioned, and Forms 1 and 2 learning support, and Form 5 in the morning, and in the afternoon Forms 3 to 5, so Form 5 and learning support would remain all day. Charlestown Secondary, Monday we'll have Form 1 at 8:30 and Form 5 at 1 p.m. Tuesday, Forms 2 and 3 at 8:30 and Form 4 at 1 p.m. And then Wednesday we go fully into the shift system with Forms 1 to 3 and learning support in the a.m. and Forms 4 to 5 and learning support in the p.m. Sixth form students will come out on the 6A, will come out on Thursday, 10th September 2020, and the 6B orientation will follow. I want to say that of course, we know that the sixth formers, the 6B students would not receive their results, their CSEC results, until later this month, and so provisions are also being made. They were allowed to register, and provisions are being made to accommodate.
Okay. And I could add right here, Mr. Minister, that our teachers and the staff at the schools would not be receiving these students blindly, let me put it like that, because what we would have done in getting ready for the opening of school is training. So the teachers and all of the staff members of the schools would have gone through a set of training, and they would have been sensitized to the guidelines and the protocols that are in place. And so we thought that it was very important for our all staff members at the schools to have had this training. And I must say at this point that we have a big thank you to give to the Ministry of Health and the team, Nadine Cathy Keynes and Dr. Walwyn. Those two individuals, I mean, did tremendous work in getting our teachers, our principals, our line staff, even the EOs, and even me, up to date with the health protocols that should be in place and that are in place in order for us to operate in a way that, as I said, would keep our environment healthy and safe for all students and personnel at the school. So last week that would have been our focus, and it continued even onto this week. And I'll tell you, even down to the bus drivers, and all our cleaners and the kitchen staff and everybody, all who are involved in anything to do with school, they would have had some sensitization, some training, and the guidelines for the reopening would have been exposed to all of these individuals. So I am truly confident, Mr. Minister. I mean, you know, because you have been front and center and fully involved in all of this, that we would have made some tremendous effort to ensure that all of our personnel had some training and sensitization as to how we are going to operate in this new normal. And I'm truly thankful for all those who would have been involved in the training. A big thank you must go out to PEO, to our EOs at the education department, because they would have been the ones who would have been doing some of the training in terms of the guidelines for the others in terms of receiving the students back to school. What I'm impressed with too is the effort that has been made, and Ms. Claxton would have alluded to it, with the PTAs that are going on at this time. So we want to make sure that everyone is covered in by Monday as to what should be happening at the school going forward. And we are hoping and we are encouraging all of the parents to adhere to the stipulations and the restrictions and the guidelines, the protocols, all the things that are going to be in place, so that we could be really safe in our environment. We encourage the students as well to be mindful that their health and their safety really depend a lot on what they do at school. And we want to make sure that we don't have any mishaps because of carelessness and things like that. And that is why I am truly encouraged that the training that we would have put in place and the sensitization workshops that we would have done, they are really meaningful to us, and those who are involved, I'm hoping that they would have taken all of that in stride and be willing to exercise all that they would have learned.
So you want me to interject here now?
Well, if you could.
Okay, we're about 3-4 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour. We're moving quite nicely. And I think there was another subject that the Premier brought up when he spoke not so long ago. It's another area of interest, and that's with the preschools, because quite a lot of persons are still in a state of limbo, not sure if their child is going to get into a school. So perhaps we could shed some light on what the ministry is doing to ensure that we are taking care of those children.
Okay, I'm happy that you refreshed my memory with that concern that the Premier had, and I know some parents still have this concern. I know some calls went out today and earlier this week, so some of them are very happy because we had some challenge with the Charlestown preschool, and to accommodate the number of students that would normally register with Charlestown preschool, we found that it would have been a tremendous challenge for us. And we were looking for, because of the physical distancing and the social distancing, we had to look for an additional space. And I must say, Mr. Minister, that we did find that space, and even up to today, and I could tell you by I think 5 o'clock, around 5:30, that space would have been cleaned and also sanitized. So we are getting that space fully up and running for Monday, and we want to let the parents know that again, even at the preschool level, that we are taking this thing about health and safety very important to us, and we are really putting an effort out to get that done. So yes, the parents who are concerned about their children getting into the preschool, the space is there, and we are happy to report that.
Let me ask. So if there's a parent who has a young child who they weren't able to get into one of the preschools before, how do you suggest they go about getting their child into this new space that is being opened up. I think what's being said is that there's a new space, so we are basically creating a new preschool to house all of the students who, because of the need for the proper spacing due to the onset of COVID-19, we are now strictly enforcing the rules that were there all the time, of course. We are enforcing those rules now and saying that daycares and preschools have to adhere to the rules. And it's for the best interest of everybody, because the last thing that we want is to have any sort of breakout and then you have some sort of spread because kids are bunched up on each other. So we've gone ahead and we've gotten a new spot where we're going to basically start a preschool to accommodate some of these children. So how would I, as a parent, get around to getting my child into this facility?
Okay, so in order to do that, you have one of two options. You can collect the forms at the Department of Education. That's the easiest way. You stop by at Marion Heights and you get the application for enrollment. You can also contact the Miss Lee, the supervisor at Charlestown Preschool, and she will also be able to guide you through the process as well. So either way, you will be able to access as long as you are, of course, parents. Please ensure that you are living in the Charlestown area or the St. John's area, since there isn't a center in St. John's. We also have space, Mr. Minister, at Gingerland, remaining space at Gingerland and Inez France. So we have space in some of our other centers.
So there's space at Inez France and there's space at Gingerland Preschool also.
So we want to make sure that once there's space in your area where you reside, we will allow your child to attend preschool there, including the second phase of Charlestown Pre-phase, or Site 2, we will accommodate as well. So we have space for those students, and I am also elated because that was something that many parents were concerned about.
Okay, certainly. So parents would be asked to visit the Department of Education, and you get the form, fill out the form, and then you can get your child into phase 2 of the Charlestown Pre, or into Inez France, which is at St. Thomas's, or at the Gingerland Preschool. So we have space at Gingerland Preschool, space at Inez France, and we are now opening up a second site for the Charlestown Preschool, and that site would be able to house roughly how many students?
I think up to 35, between 35 and 40 students.
Okay, so between 35 and 40 students, so that definitely is adequate spacing to house most of the other students. Could you give us, for instance, a little update on where we are in terms of our daycares? I know that most of the daycares here on Nevis are privately owned daycares, so in terms of where we are with the daycares and so on.
So they would have, the daycare centers were inspected by a combined task force, and the combination, the task force has a combination of Safe Schools, Ministry of Education representatives, the COVID-19 compliance task force, and representation from the Child Probation and Child Welfare Board, who is the ultimate licensing authority for early childhood centers. The centers that have been inspected and passed will receive a certificate, and so parents, this is very important. When you go to drop your children off, look out for the certificate posted somewhere. It tells you the capacity of the center, and it lets you know that the center was inspected and that it is in compliance with the regulations and guidelines, protocols given for early childhood centers here on Nevis. So that is something that you should look out for. They should start operation on Monday. And unless the proprietor has other plans, most of them will be starting their services on Monday.
So we can look forward to seeing our daycares coming back on stream. Our preschools are going to be back out. Our primary schools are going to be back out, and parents have gotten the information as to exactly when they should send their child to school. In our high schools, they're going to be back out, and we're instituting a shift system in our high schools. And so that's pretty much a lot of information. I think we also have some good news to share with the public, because one of the things that we do is we assist in getting the students to school via the school buses. I know that we're in the process right now of getting some bus attendants, because students are going to have to be sanitized before they come onto the bus. But we're also in the process of acquiring two new buses that are going to be here immediately, and I think that we can look forward to something else in the not too distant future. But certainly we have partnered with a donor, and I don't want to name them yet tonight, but they will be named shortly, and the ministry should be receiving 2 brand new school buses to assist us in getting our students to school shortly. So Mr. Pierce, I think you could give a little bit more information on that without naming the donor.
Yeah, well, yes. We recognize, COVID, well, we all know COVID has changed a lot of things, and we do need the additional transportation. But you said something to Mr. Minister that I want to elaborate on a little bit. Again, as I said in the very beginning, health and safety is really our priority in going forward for the new school year. Teaching and learning is going to happen. That is what the schools are there for. But we must do it in an environment that is healthy and an environment that is safe. Safe for the teacher, safe for the students. And that must not only be on the school premises. And so we are also instituting that level of health and safety even on our school buses. And that is why, as the minister said, we are in the process of finalizing the school bus attendants, and some of the things that this individual or these individuals would be charged with is sanitizing the bus before students embark and sanitizing the bus after they disembark. Before the students come onto the bus as well, they are responsible for the temperature check and the screening, and they're also responsible for sanitizing the hands of the students when they are about to board the buses. That is important, and we want to make sure, as I said, that we do all that we can so that persons could feel confident, persons could feel that yes, indeed, there are measures in place that are looking out for my health and my safety. And so that is an additional thing that we are doing, so that the parents could feel that something is being done, the students could feel safe. Because even on the buses, sometimes students are sitting very close to each other, and that is something else that the bus attendant will have to do in terms of the spacing on the buses. And we want to make sure, as I said, we want to make sure that parents feel that something is being done to safeguard their children when they leave home. We are looking forward, yes, we are looking forward to the additional buses that should be here. And we want to thank, without naming names, we want to thank the donors, and we really look forward to that, because the buses are very important to us. They get our children to school safely, and it also help parents to save some much needed funds.
1 minute there, we have a caller. Caller, you're on the line. You're on the mark. Good night.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. How are you?
Taking the temperature of the student getting on the bus, going into school, you're using a temperature gun, I presume. Will you be taking the temperature at the forehead or at the wrist?
We'll be taking the temperature at the wrist.
Somebody brought it to my attention that taking it at the forehead. I was in a forum and a person didn't want me to take it at their forehead. So I'm just asking the question, is there a problem taking it, or can you take it at the wrist?
We'll take it at the wrist. Okay. It is a surface temperature, and the temperature at the forehead and the wrist are pretty much well aligned, and so we've instructed that the temperature should be taken at the wrist.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Have a great evening.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you. Okay, and yes, so we look forward to having these additional buses, and we are hopeful that it would help us to get our students really in the shift system to school on time and in good time, and so we look forward to that. Our bus drivers as well, they were sensitized. They were given the guidelines as to what should happen during their bus driving and things like that. And so I'm really encouraged with the level of preparation that we have put into the reopening of schools. One of the other things that we would have had to put in our planning is the spacing of the classrooms at school. I mean, the students in the classes. One of the things that we came up against, especially in the lower grades, the kindergartners, the grade 1 and the grade 2s, is that they were outfitted with what we call the double desks. And that would mean that two students will sit very close together. And because of the new protocols, we are minded that we have to space our children out and get them to sit by a desk by themselves with this safe distance between the other student. So what we have done, we have commissioned a local company here on Nevis to build some desk. And when I saw what we are going to be getting, my goodness, I must say that the work is top class, and I'm very impressed with the work that I've seen. I visited the company today, and I'm very impressed with the level of work that they would have done, and that is because we recognize as part of the protocol, yes, that we must seat our children at a single desk. And so we have gone ahead and invested in getting those desks for, we're going to start mainly with the lower grades, and then if we need others for the upper grades, we'll continue to do that. So that is something, again, that we are making sure. The Ministry and Department of Education, we are not taking this reopening of school lightly. We are trying to do our best in ensuring that, yes, the parents would feel comfortable in sending their children back out to school. They have been home for such a long time. Some of them are eager to get back to school. Some of the parents are eager to send their children to school, but they want that reassurance that when they send their children out, they're sending them into a safe environment. And so that is what we are trying to do from the department and the ministries, and in doing all of this, so that, yes, the parents could feel that they are indeed sending their children to a safe environment.
And P.S., I just want to jump in quickly in relation to the buses. We also, as part of the protocols and as part of the possibility of contact tracing, we have a bus registration process going on. The application forms are available at both secondary schools and at the Department of Education, and we are encouraging all parents to register their children to be on the buses. We will assign the children to buses. It will help us to ensure that we are not overloading buses with additional students especially until we receive the additional buses. We have to make sure that we try to space out and run through the shift system well. And so we would have gotten many application forms, but we are just sending out a final call to all parents. If you have secondary school children who generally use the services of the school bus, we're encouraging you to register them, and we will give until September 14th. Each day, that roster will be used for the temperature checks and for the entry to the bus. As I said, we have to control the numbers, and so it's very important that we have that for both for that purpose and for the purpose of contact tracing. So please, if you haven't done so yet, please register your children. If you have done so, we will be reaching out between tomorrow and Friday to let you know which bus your child should be entering once school starts.
And if I could add something else to what while we're on buses, we plan to on Friday as well give the buses, just as we would have done for the schools, give the schools a deep clean and sanitization. We are going to be doing the same thing for our buses come Friday, and so they would have a special cleaning, so that when we start school on Monday, the students would also be going into a bus that has been, as we said, deep cleaned.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark with your host, Troy Liebert. I am joined by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mr. Kevin Barrett, and the Principal Education Officer, Ms. Zanella Claxton. Time is it 9:15 15 minutes after the 9 o'clock hour. We have 45 minutes more to go. The lines are open. Numbers to call: 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. We are here sharing information that's pertinent to you, the general public, about the reopening of school. Of course, we know school has been out since March, when we had a few cases of the COVID-19 come into the Federation, and we have not been able to reopen schools physically. We've done some work virtually using the Microsoft Teams, and I think we had Flow Study, was it? Flow Study. Those platforms, PSPEO, for the benefit of the general public. How are we dealing with the Flow Study platform and the Microsoft Teams? Are these still in use? Are these still going to be utilized going forward into the new school year?
Okay, so the Flow Study is self-paced, and that is an open platform that our students can use at any time. However, the selected learning management system for the Federation is Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft Teams has so many different functionalities. In fact, all of our students and teachers have access to Microsoft Office, and so they have access to the teachers, for example, have access to the online version of Word and PowerPoint and all of those different functions that come with Microsoft Office. I'm learning now about SharePoint and Microsoft Streams and just all Microsoft Forms, many different add-ons that have come for free to all of our students and teachers. And so we're going to use Microsoft Teams, which is one of the functionalities of the Office, the O365 Microsoft Office platform. And through that platform, the Teams, students will be able to interact with their teachers in person, face-to-face video interactions. They also have Microsoft Teams also has a capability for students to upload and teachers to upload assignments for students to complete and grade and return. And so it has, as I said, many functionalities. We're going to continue to use Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams. Even though we're meeting face-to-face, we're encouraging teachers to post homework assignments online that students can continue to interact with the platform, so that in the event that we have to revert to a fully online modality, that we can do so easily, and it doesn't take away, or it's not a difficult transition. We know the first time the learning curve was very steep. We want to make sure that we flatten that curve as well, in addition to the COVID-19 curve, that we flatten the learning curve for interacting with the online platform. And so they will continue to post notes, activities, and it's like I say all the time, it's like a Facebook wall. So as you update, it updates, and students can interact and that kind of thing on there. So we will continue with it. We are going to be transitioning the students who have gone to a new school. So you're thinking of those who went from primary school to high school, those who went from preschool to primary school, or some more students who transferred from St. Kitts to Nevis. So we're in the process on the back end of aligning people to where they are now, and the teachers, as I said, will use it to interact with each other, to interact with their principals, and to interact with students.
Wonderful. So we can look forward to some online interaction. We're keeping the online platform open, the online option open. In the case that we're going to be opening the borders sooner rather than later, sometime soon, and I won't say that it is inevitable, but once the borders are open, there's a possibility that some COVID might return, and while we are hopeful that we are going to continue to be in the state that we are, where we don't have any community spread of COVID or any known cases of COVID, if we weren't to stay in the best case scenario, we were to get a case. Let me hold my thought, because I have a caller. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Hello, yes, on the mark.
How you doing?
Good night. I listen all kind of things. I listen all kind of things, but don't take it on. They got your money for you, they gonna give Nevis the money. I think it's good and one. Do not take it on.
Tonight is education we're talking about. So next week we're gonna deal with that topic that you want to talk about.
I'll owe you tomorrow. Okay. Alright then.
Alright. Next week we're gonna deal with that. Have a good night. So let me see if I can recall my chain of thought. That was a light moment for the night, and I don't want to get you all involved in that. But next week for that, So yeah, in the event that we were to get a case or two of COVID, and a decision is made to go back to virtual instead of in-person classes, what sort of position would we be in?
I think it varies across the system, but the hope is that using this contact time, we will be in a better position than we were, let's say, in April, May, June. And many of the students have gotten a hang of it, have gotten a hang of the platform. It's like second nature to them. I think, once again, our biggest challenge, and nothing comes without challenges. So parents, as I speak about what is, and teachers and everyone else, I want you to know that even what is comes with challenges. And so one of our biggest challenges has been, for example, the stability of internet in some parts of the island. And so we will continue to reach out and have those conversations. But in terms of the platform and the availability of the platform, one of the things that we're working towards is to see how many of the lessons we could pre-record and record, so that the children can come back and watch, even if they can't make a live session for, let's say, an electrical out, if electricity goes out, or there's an internet outage. And I want to also commend, because NEVLEC, since we started the online journey, NEVLEC has reached out every week to let us know about the schedule outages, so that we can inform teachers and make the necessary adjustments. And in situations like those, remote learning is not necessarily solely virtual learning, and so we are also encouraging teachers and principals to prepare paper-based documents that they can share out if needs be. But we want to make sure that if we ever have to resort to a remote space, that we are in a much better position, and that we'll continue to practice and prepare our students to be able to engage.
Yes, certainly, and I think that's important. Pierce, you wanna?
Yeah, I want to add that the teachers, I think in the beginning, some were a little bit apprehensive about the Microsoft Teams platform, but since we have done some training, I know I could speak even in my home context, that teachers are really gravitating toward the Microsoft Teams. Once they get a hang of it, they are willing to use it, and I think if God forbid that we have to ever go back to having the virtual more than the in person, I think teachers are going to be more confident with the platform, and I could foresee that there would be a better output and participation from teacher and student if we have to go back to a virtual, an all virtual learning experience.
I think as we prepare for...
One moment, let's hold. We have a caller. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you're on the mark.
Good night to the honorable child, brother.
How are you, brother?
Oh man, I'm here. I thought Mark will be here tonight, you know.
No, he's not here tonight. We talking about the opening of school.
Good night to the lady there. The lady there, that's the principal.
No, I have with me the permanent secretary in education here in Nevis and the principal education officer.
Alright, okay. Alright, I just want to wish the people of Nevis all the best. Our border is going to open in October, and I just would like the people to cooperate with the security forces, continue to wear the mask, especially on the passenger bus, and even though you're on a vehicle, and I just want the parents and the parents to cooperate with teachers then, because they know that they can't go up on the school premises as they like. You understand?
Yes.
If they got something to bring to the children, then they just bring it and just hand it over to the security. I would prefer the video working, because we know that we is not on a normal stage. And I just want to commend the CMO and the security forces and the Honorable Prime Minister and his cabinet to do a wonderful job. Continue to keep the people intact, and the security forces to enforce the people to wear the mask, because it's going to be very crucial for us. I mean, we live in a God-blessed country. I always say that, and I believe that. Federation think it and need it. And no matter where the naysayers them are, all kind of people are going to say, because you know people put politics into everything. Gonna try. We just got to pray that this thing go away worldwide and set back the federation and the countries them together and open back up the economy. That is what we need in right now. We gotta just pray, because just talking negative thing and try to drive a wedge, I do not believe it's gonna be any good force. But the situation of here, the whole worldwide, they make you this million affected, this affected, that affected. But just imagine a small country like us and this coronavirus come here and start to affect us. You know what's going to happen to us? We're going to limit the people in the federation. To you and your team, you all have a wonderful night. God bless you. Mr. Politics here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, brother.
Good night, Lynn. And good night to my brother Joseph Woolard over there. His very cutie. And my cousin Jay John and all of them. Want to wish them a blessed night. Big up.
Thank you very much, sir. You have a blessed night. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark. We are about 28 minutes after the 9 o'clock hour, and tonight I think we're having quite the show, giving the general public some good information about the reopening of school, information pertinent to parents, students, teachers, persons who are just generally interested in education. Education has become a very, very interesting topic, particularly since COVID-19, because everybody is asking how you're going to open school, what you're going to be doing, and and so forth. And the Ministry and Department of Education has certainly put in the work, and I think I'll take the opportunity while it's there to thank both of you for the excellent work that you have been doing, and not just both of you, but the entire staff at both the ministry level and at the department level. I know our education officers, they have been really, really working overtime to put all of the logistics together. All of the other staff in the department who have been working hard to put all of these things together, and our principals and our teachers at the various schools, they have had to be out, going to the training, going in school, setting the schedules, all of the groundwork to ensure that come next week, we're able to transition back to in class. This is what you would call an unprecedented time. It has not happened, certainly not in my short lifetime, and I've never heard of a similar situation here in Nevis. Definitely, I've not heard of any situation where we've had any type of pandemic that has closed down schools, and we've had to introduce all of this social distancing and so on, and the whole life has just changed. So there's no blueprint. There is certainly no plan as to, hey, this is the manual on what you're supposed to do when COVID-19 comes in, or when something similar to COVID-19 comes in. There was none of that. So we had to be making up the plan, making up the blueprint, making up the manuals as we go along. And so I want to commend everybody for the just the hard work that you have been doing. And I want to say to the general public to be patient. I want to ask the general public, I want to ask parents, I know that you've been patient, but I want to ask you to continue to be patient, because while we put all of these plans in place, things could still go a little bit different, and everything is not going to go perfectly immediately. So we're going to need that patience. We're going to need to be partners in this. We're going to need to be working together, the schools and the parents and the department. Everybody has to be working together. The government has to ensure that we are playing our role. And while I'm talking about that, I think it's important that we mention that the students are going to have to be in masks in school, and we're encouraging all of the parents to get masks. People have been making masks that are similar color to the schools colors, and the government we will try our best to assist where we can. As a matter of fact, the government is expecting the government is expecting a rather generous donation of masks, and I think that we'll have an announcement pretty soon, and we will be making some masks available, but these would be the temporary ones, the one-use ones, and these would not be the permanent masks that we expect the children to be wearing, but we're going to try to keep some around, so that in the event that a child does not have a mask, or a child forgot their mask or something like that you won't have to send the child home for the mask and so on, or if somebody wants to come on the school premises and they would have forgotten their mask. But we're not going to encourage anybody to come and not bring your mask, but we're saying in the event that you do not have it, that we have something there that we can provide you with. So certainly these are things that we are trying to put in place. We're also going to have all of the hand washing stations in place. The hand sanitizers and so on are going to be in place. These are things we're going to have to try to keep in stock. And I want people to understand that all of the things that we're doing, they come with a cost. And these are costs that were not originally budgeted for. Last year in October, November, December, when we were going through and doing our budget for 2020, we could not foresee at that time that we would have had anything called COVID or anything called Corona. We could not foresee that we would have been in this position, and so we therefore did not budget for all of these things. And that's just one way of looking at it. So we already did not budget for these things. And then on the other hand, we here in Nevis, we depend on tourism for a lot of our income. The government depends on tourism. So imagine you already didn't budget for these things, and then to have one of your major revenue sources decimated, and not just one, because pretty much COVID has slowed down every single thing. So the economy as a whole has slowed down in many places. The economies in those countries and so on have come to almost a complete stop, and such has been, you know, the effect of COVID-19. We had lockdowns. We here in St. Kitts and Nevis were very fortunate because we went into the lockdowns early on. We did what we needed to do early, and we got into the position where we have been COVID-free for a very long time, especially over here on Nevis. We've been COVID-free for some months now. But notwithstanding all of that, the hotels and so on, for the most part, have been closed. I think some of the hotels have started to market themselves for staycation and so on, but that is money circulating within the economy. That is not new money coming in. That's us spending to kind of have a circular effect within the economy, but that doesn't bring in any money. So we haven't had a lot of money coming in, so the government's revenues and so on have been down, and then still now we have to do all of this additional spending. So it's been difficult, and it's going to continue to be difficult. So, you know, we want to urge everybody to tighten up the belt. We want to urge everybody to, you know, lessen the spending that you would deem unnecessary, and focus on things that would probably be more important. We have certainly the education of our children is important. That has to be tops, and certainly the health and wellness of our children is a top priority. So even with the limited resources that we have now, we have had to put those resources into ensuring that our school environments and so on are in a position, in a welcoming position, in a position that our children will be well off. And, you know, we're not just going to stop at what we have done so far. We have to continue. We have to ensure that our staff quarters and so on are in the best possible shape. And so these are things that we are still working on. I mean, we haven't been able to get every single thing done by the time September comes, but we are still going to be working on these things, because we don't know how long COVID is going to linger around. We don't know if there's going to be a vaccine by the end of this year, by the middle of next year, whatever the case may be. But we have to continue to prepare for whatever scenario comes up. So that was just to give the general public a little bit of a heads up that everything that we're doing comes at a cost.
Mr. Minister, I know earlier you would have expressed your gratitude and your thanks to the department and the ministry, the staff there. Your thank you. We accept it. We thank you very much. But I must say to Mr. Minister that we have to thank you as well for your leadership, and just you having the confidence in us when we bring ideas and suggestions to you, and how supportive you have been. You have made our work, I must say, so much easier. And I must tell you that the way in which you approach running the Ministry of Education on Nevis, it's really encouraging to us, and we want to thank you for your support in all that we do. I would like to add, though, that one of the things that is going to help us very much in terms of being successful in what we are doing in terms of the reopening of school is the support from the parents. Parents, your support is going to be very important. We want you to talk to your children. We want you to encourage them to abide by the protocols that are going to be in place at school. talk to them about their interaction with their classmates. Well, we know children are sociable. We know it's a fundamental part of their development that they interact with each other. But we are living in a new normal, and we are counting on your parents to talk to your children about the new normal. We don't want them to develop an attitude of not being able to socialize or anything like that. But because of what we are going through, we are going to be asking you to just talk to your children. Tell them about the exchange of sharing of snacks and things like that. Children, they have friends. We have some that are coming into the kindergarten that would maybe not have developed a friendship just yet. And so as they would go along, they would develop that friendship. But we also have children who are going into grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 3 and all of the other grades who would have had friends prior to this time. And they would have developed relationships where they perhaps even bring snacks to school to share. They have developed relationships where they always touch and hug and things like that. So we want your parents to talk to your children concerning these things. When I say that, I mean in the sense that we just be careful. Be careful when you're at school. Be careful in terms of sanitizing your hands, and use the hand washing stations, and don't share your snacks and things like that. Or sometimes you have an apple and somebody take a bite and you want to share the same apple with somebody. Those things we are discouraging, and we want you to talk to your children. At school, I know, and I'm very confident in our principals, that they are going to do the best that they could in terms of management of what happens on the school premises. I know they are going to put schedules in place where teachers would be having their eyes out for the gatherings, and all of the personnel on the school premises. They are going to be looking out to ensure that the social distancing, the physical distancing, and all of the things that are put in place to keep the children safe, that they are adhered to. So I have no doubt that we are going to have a good school year. I have all confidence in the principals. I have all confidence in the teachers, and even the cleaners. And that's something else. That is something else that we are going to be keeping at the forefront in terms of the cleaning and the sanitization of the railings and the doorknobs and the high traffic areas where students will touch surfaces and things like that. And that is why in the schools that did not have full-time cleaners, we are going to be instituting that these schools have full-time cleaners, so that they could be sanitized and cleaned throughout the day and not just after school or during lunchtime. That is something else that we are going to ensure that is happening at all of our schools.
Yes, just a light moment, I guess. I was talking to a child earlier this week, and she said, I don't know about going back to school because I can't tell secrets with my friends anymore, because when they tell secrets, they go up in each other's ear, and but that child's parents have been talking to her about protocols and the practicing now, so that in the event that we end up with any active cases anywhere in the Federation, that we are prepared. It doesn't make any sense. Parents have been asking, for example, why do we have to go through all of this when we don't have any known active cases? And we want to encourage you that we want children to get into a routine where they're practicing safety and proper hygiene, and so in the event that they have to, it's like normal for them to do some of the activities. Just a quick follow-up as it relates to the masks. The initial announcement that we made the last time we were here stated that in alignment with the regulations at that point, we stated that the students should wear masks from 3 years old. Since then, over the course of this weekend, we received updated statutory rules and orders, and so of course page 3 section 8 speaks to wearing of masks and speaks to children over the age of 6. So if you're under the age of 6, you're not required to wear it all day long or for extended periods. What we're saying though to parents, and parents have asked, preschoolers in masks, what would that look like? Or kindergartners in masks, what would that look like? And in keeping with the SRNOs, we will allow for the students to those younger ages not have to wear them for the duration of the day. But we're saying to parents, if your child is taking public transportation and coming into school on a public bus, please ensure that they're wearing a mask to protect themselves and of course to protect the other students with whom they'll come into contact with. Even if they're coming to school with you as parents in your private vehicles, place a mask or two in their backpack. You put a change of clothes every day. Place a mask or two in their backpack in a nice sealed Ziploc bag, and every afternoon you change them out to ensure that they're not getting dirty and that they're not transmitting anything through their masks. Because at the end of the day, if they have any close activity and the teachers have to assist the students with putting their masks on, you have those in their backpacks ready and raring to go. So that's something that we wanted all parents to know. Please ensure that. And even the older students, I would recommend that you put an extra one in a Ziploc bag, place it in their backpack. I would also recommend, we will have so many things in place in terms of sanitization, but if you have the mini hand sanitizers, that's something good also to pack with them so that they can have, and if they need to sanitize their hands as an individual, that's something that they have in their backpack that they get used to digging into and getting. As I said, not compulsory, not part of the book list or the resource list, but it would help tremendously if we have those additional resources and help in the as we try to prepare our students for the opening of schools.
I want to thank both of you. We're about 15 minutes more to go. 15 minutes is a short amount of time when you have, quite a lot to say. And I wanted to put a few things into context. I pulled my trusty phone out and I went on Google just to look up some information on the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 is something that became popular. I think they started talking about it a little bit. You started hearing it out there about February, and then about mid-March, the whole world was bam, everybody is on COVID. Just over 26 million persons worldwide have contracted COVID-19, and we've had just about 867,000 deaths out of the 26 million. Over 18 million persons have already recovered, and there are about 6.8 million active cases that are on record right now. So that's just to put it in context. I've spoken to persons in the United States and so on, and they're telling me, look, we have COVID all around here. Persons living in places like Miami and so on who are telling me that, somebody close by, they knew somebody, a friend or something like that, who would have contracted COVID, and so persons are generally afraid. And so while we here in the Federation have been enjoying a situation where we don't have COVID, borders are going to be reopened shortly. We can't stay locked off from the world. Our economy is certainly suffering, so we're going to need to open the borders. And so all of the things that we are putting in place is to ensure that when the borders open, if something is to happen, if COVID is to come in, that we are accustomed to doing the necessary things. And so that is going to make it a lot more difficult for us to pass on the virus. It's going to make it difficult for us to catch the virus to begin with, and it's going to make it difficult for us to pass on the virus. Because if we are doing the washing of hands, if we're doing the wearing of masks and we are keeping our environment clean and sanitized and so on, then it's going to be very, very difficult for us to pass on the COVID virus. And that is why it's so important for us to practice the correct things now, even in a time when we don't have the COVID virus, so that if and when it comes, that our student, they would already have a routine. Our teachers in the school, they would already know what to do, and the folks in the homes, the parents and so on, they already know what to do. And we continue to remain vigilant. We're going to continue to with our online stuff, so in the event that we have to go back online, that we are certainly prepared to do that. And so that's why we are going through all of the things that we're going through, because I've heard people say that, oh, we don't have any corona, so just open up and we don't have to go through all of this thing about social distancing and masks and so on and so on. Just open up and let people live life. And that is one way to do it. And then another way to do it is to be diligent and to be prepared, because I for one believe that if we were to just listen to somebody like that who say, oh, don't bother with all the protocols, and just open up, if and when something is to happen, it will be the same person who said just open up who would be the ones to say, oh, but y'all should have known that you needed to put this in place and you needed to put that in place, or how come this is not in place, or how come we don't have all the children wearing masks, or if the children were wearing masks, this would not have happened, or if you had the hand washing stations, that would not have happened. And so we are doing the right things now, so that in the event something is to happen, we are prepared. But we continue to remain hopeful that nothing is going to happen. P.S. we just have about 10 minutes more, so I'll give you 5 minutes, and then I'll give PEO another 5 minutes.
Okay.
So you can just probably run through some of the stuff that you did at the top of the show, so that persons can have a reminder.
Yes, and that is important. But I would like to continue where you left off in terms of individuals when they, I don't want to say get careless, but they get complacent. Let me put it like that. I don't want us to, as a society, to get complacent and be using the position that we are in right now in terms of being COVID-free for us to get careless and encourage individuals not to abide by the SRNOs and the protocols that are in place, because I strongly believe that we are at this point and at this position because of what we did from very early. There were some of us who did not in the beginning want to abide by the restrictions and the protocols that were in place, but I think for the most part individuals did comply, and I believe strongly that it's because of what we would have done early why we are in this position at this time. So I want us to continue to be vigilant, continue to be protocol abiding, if I could put it like that, and I know we are going to be much safer and much healthier and much better because of what we do individually and collectively. So I'm putting that out, that we should continue doing what we are doing. And so as you say, we are winding down, and yes, to remind the parents and the teachers and the students and all who are involved in schools and worrying about going back to school and reopening of school. Once again, I want to reassure you that the ministry and the Department of Education, we are doing all that we can in terms of getting the schools prepared and getting the environment healthy and safe for receiving the students. Once again, let me remind that all of the schools, they have been cleaned and sanitized, and we are just doing the other odds and ends to make sure that yes, we are indeed ready to receive students come the 7th. The hand washing stations, Some of them have been completed, not all, but Mr. Percival, who is the head of our maintenance team here, has showed me that by Friday, all of these the hand washing stations would be up and in place and running and ready for use, and that is encouraging, because again, I cannot emphasize enough that we are really putting health and safety at the top of our priority list in terms of receiving our staff and students and back to school come September 7th. Charlestown Preschool phase 2, that is being prepared and would be ready for receiving students come September 7th. We also, I want to remind you that we are not just going to receive students and our teachers don't know what to do, and our teachers are not aware of the protocols and the procedures and the guidelines and all of these things. They would have had their training. Once again, I want to thank the Ministry of Health for coming forward and helping us with all of the protocols and the training and suggestions that they would have given to us in getting our schools ready. And a special thank you to all the companies that would have helped us in terms of getting our schools cleaned and sanitized. And a big shout out to our maintenance team. I can't say enough about our maintenance team. Mr. Alex Percival and his crew, they have been working all day, and well, since we have gone on this journey of getting schools ready, they have been working tirelessly, and I want to thank them so much for their hard work. The education officers, Mr. Minister, you would have said already about the amount of work that they would have put in, and so let me, as the Permanent Secretary, thank them as well for all of the hard work and all of the late hours and late nights. And sometimes I get up like 2 o'clock in the morning, and they are up there sending messages, and there's still, I wonder if these people don't sleep. And so, but they love what they do. They do what they do with a passion. So I know they don't complain, and that's another thing. They do not complain. They get the work done, and they come to work the next morning as if they slept the whole night. But I could look at my phone and see when they were sending the last WhatsApp and communicating with each other. So thank you very much, team at the Ministry and Department of Education. You have been doing well, and I'm looking forward, Mr. Minister, to this new normal and this brand new school year 2020-2021, and all of the things that we have been doing. It is because we have put health and safety at the forefront of all that we are doing, so that parents could feel comfortable that they're sending their children to a healthy and safe environment for learning.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, PS, and thank you once again for the opportunity to be here, Mr. Minister, and also thanks to Premier Brantley for the opportunity to be here as well. Just a quick reminder to parents who have students who usually take the school buses. We need you to register your students either at the Department of Education or at the secondary schools. There are forms available at all three venues, and we need the students registered for their protection, and of course to have that in terms of placing the students across the various buses. Listeners, viewers, we have done a lot of groundwork. We've done a research, we've done consultations, we've listened to all stakeholders as much as possible, and we learned a lot from the different stakeholders within education, and that helped us to tweak and adjust and become even more prepared. And so we've had meetings, and this week we're going to finish up the meetings with the parents. The principals are doing that so that you get the intimate approach of what's happening at your schools, what's happening at the specific schools, and you can ask questions. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can send an email, education@niagov.com. You can call us at the 469-5521 and just ask to be transferred to education, and they'll be able to do that. And we will try our best to answer any questions that you have. Follow us on the Facebook, Ministry of Education Nevis, and as we update leading up to the reopening of schools as well. Please be reminded that on Monday all students will not be going out. We'll be doing a phased approach, and there is a reason behind it. There's a rationale. We want to make sure that our students are able to ease in and transition in, and that our teachers and our various stakeholders, our staff members, are also able to transition in as well. Parents, community members, we encourage you over the next few days to talk to the children, to encourage them to listen, to be obedient, and of course help them to practice to follow the protocols, the general protocols that they need to follow going into the new school year. As I said, if you have further questions, feel free to reach out to the schools or to us at Education. I cannot close out without saying, please exercise patience, continue to exercise patience. Changes will come, and they're not an indication of not knowing what we're doing, but it's an indication that theory and practice sometimes don't match, and so we might have to make some changes, but that's only towards the betterment of the system, towards the student experience, and towards the staff experience. And so we thank you for your patience, we thank you for your advice in advance, and your encouragement and your support. And so in the vein of thank you, thanks to the parents for all that you have been doing and your patience thus far. Thanks to the principals and school leadership across the island for your continued support and leadership. And thanks to education officials, the NIA. It has been a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to be part of this team.
Well, thank both of you for being here. That's our show for tonight. The show is going to be broadcast tomorrow at 1. I thank everybody who listened and who called in. We certainly had a wonderful night. Do enjoy the rest of your night. Good night.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting